Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Elevate interview, a special Elevate interview, might I add, because I'm here with my older brother, Money Mitch. I know it says Mitch Moore on the screen right there, but he should have put Money Mitch on there. But yeah, we're going to talk about Elevate, just the ride from the jump, because obviously he's been a part of it since day one and watched me grow it and seen the highs, the lows, and everything in between, all the wins. And even recently got out into the mountains of Washington and backpacked out there with 8 other guys in this community. So he got to experience an event and a backpacking event, especially firsthand. So we're going to be diving into it all from his point of view, which is going to be interesting. So, Mitch?
Excited to share. Yeah, excited to dive into it. I think it'll be insightful for even people who, are already within the community and just kind of want to hear more backstory being around obviously you before Elevate, but being around since the beginning. Um, yeah, I think we'll be able to throw in some special details that people will appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to take it back to November of 2021 because this is the time when Joey and I were set to launch and we were running around like a bunch of chickens with our head cut off to try to get this community together for all this demand that we had at the time. I'm laughing because we didn't have any demand. And most people don't even know that I started it with Joe. Obviously, you know that. And then, you were just like, why are you guys trying to launch this thing in November? Like, why don't you just launch this thing January 1st, like normal people would? And that's just kind of the role I feel like you've played, this entire time, kind of just like soundboard, especially for the finances, but really just for everything. I know we go back and forth quite a bit, but take me back from your perspective to kind of just those early conversations of the genesis of Elevate.
Yeah, it's interesting because you and Joe had really just met, honestly. I mean, the relationship hadn't been around for that long, but it's one of those where when not related to marriage, but related to friendship, a lifelong friendship. And so you
Yeah.
knew he was a man of character and the values that you would want to get into business with. And I mean, back then it was mostly revolved around fitness, nutrition, training. Like that was the biggest focus. And so I remember we were talking about I think whatever ebooks you were going to put in there, and then the supplements, that you're going to include in the channels, and everything fitness and nutrition related. And so
Yeah.
it's crazy to see the evolution now to what it is from what the initial idea was. I think anyone who's really started a business, with a specific idea in mind, and kind of morphs into other things as you get into it, get feedback from others, and also as you grow personally. So yeah, obviously Joe's no longer leading the community, still obviously around in your life, our life, but yeah, it was naive maybe days. I don't know, just didn't know what was in store. It was just a exciting new thing that I know you had the desire to start for a while, with the group chats and group messages that you're trying to get going with certain people in your life, to create a similar type environment. So that was kind of the evolution of like, well, let's do this on a maybe bigger scale and get it out of the hometown people or just the people, that I already know. And let's give everyone, an opportunity to join, be a part of it, and be able to benefit from that community.
Yeah. And let's just talk about that because I know exactly what you're talking about. I tried community prior to Elevate, like you're saying. I tried the group text with just some people we were friends with when I was like, I think I was like 16 or something. You were in college. And I was like, yeah, man, like we can, everybody can help each other with different stuff. I remember saying, like, you're going to school for finance, like you can help in that. And like Eli, a good friend of mine growing up, we still talk to this day. It was like he was trying to put on weight, and I was like, we can help him do that. Like, you had like a bulking shake at the time or something. I was like, you could send him the recipe. Like, we could really get a group together to achieve some things together. And I even remember at that point, again, you being that soundboard, you were like, you may have to like just charge like $5 or something just so people take this thing seriously. And I remember there was even, like certain people I didn't even let in because I was like, I know they're not going to take it serious. So like, we're not letting them in. So it's just funny you mentioned the origin, being 16 and God having planted the seed of community at that young of an age. It's honestly wild to even consider, to like you're saying now, how it's evolved, and to the point now where people refer to this thing as a ministry more than anything, dude. I've never called it that, but I've acknowledged, that term when I explain it, and people are like, "Oh, so your ministry," and I get that a lot. People on Twitter, when I'm connecting with people on Twitter, they're like, "Oh, love the ministry that you have." I'm like, "Sure, yeah, like I guess that's what we're doing now." So it's even still a bit of a shock to me to hear that, just coming from the humble beginnings, I guess we could say.
Yeah, yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, I guess if you zoom out and think about it, I mean, that's our ultimate mission here on Earth, to begin with. And so, whatever the vehicle, that we choose to get in and drive, we're still driving to the ultimate destination, I guess, of expanding the kingdom and bringing others to the faith. So makes sense. Makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah. I think the next point I wanted to jump to just seems like the next big thing was March of 2022. We launched Jan 1, 2022. I don't know how many guys joined. We maybe have like 5 to 10 guys, that we just knew already, had connected with, and some OGs that are, still a core part of the community today. I know Bo and Austin, and those are the first two names that hit me. Still firing today, over 2.5 years later, which is wild. But I jumped to March of 2022 because that was really like the first Elevate event. I get some merch printed up, and it just so happens that there's like enough guys in the Midwest, around Indiana. Austin's coming to town for the weekend. Like Joe's coming in from Cleveland. And I was like, man, let's just see, who all we can get for just a Saturday deadlift session and, brunch and park workout. So what was your experience of March of 2022, the first unofficial official Elevate event? It just came together somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at that time, yeah, I guess that was just a normal Saturday for us. So I guess I didn't view it so much as a, first Elevate event, and really, I think it was more so just bringing people together for you. It wasn't like it is today, an event would be, but it was,
Yeah.
Organic is probably the best word to use then, that fits with the description of how it came about, and really, the organic growth of the relationships within the community. Like people were making sacrifices with their time, money, energy to, come spend time together with us and the other guys. And, that was really the initial, I would say, seed of what events have grown into today, where people are willing to travel from across the world, across the country, significant financial and time investment because of the fruit that they're able to get out of the experience and the relationships. So, yeah, I would say that was my experience with it. It was organic. It was real. It was just a good time, dudes being dudes. And yeah, those that picture, that we have at the gym that day, I'm sure is something that you'll look back on 10, 20, 30 years from now and be able to say like, here's where it all started. Because as you know, leading the community for 2.5 years now, in person takes things to a deeper level. Online community is awesome, and being able to connect with people outside of your geographical location is a great starting point. But it goes to another level when you're able to meet in person, and that's where I think you experience the most transformation that you would like to, from being
Yeah.
involved in a community like Elevate. So I would say organic, and it's just continuing to grow from that day. And I'm sure there will be a picture 10 years now, maybe not even that much, 5 years from now, where there's 300 people in it, and you'll be able to compare. There was 10 that day or whatever it was, something around there, and now there's 300. Taking doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
that's how I
I
describe it.
mean, House of Steel this year, third annual, we got 40 guys. So that's going to be a big picture in and of itself, in year two. So, but I love the terminology organic because I get asked questions like how this started, and it's like I don't know, like and you've been there. It's like I don't know how we've gotten here. It's just been one blind decision after another. One like sure, let's try this thing. Okay, that worked. Okay, what's next? Okay, let's try this thing. Like, it's just been one leap of faith after another. And that's exactly how we've gotten here. And that's really like the testimony to my faith in God as well, because, I look back at that first ever Elevate event, and I'm throwing up air quotes because, like you said, it wasn't really an Elevate event. We just so happened to bring people together. I was also selling merch at the same time. It was not coordinated, nothing was aligned. So everybody's wearing like their shirts that day. And then I look back and I'm like, this is really like the start of something. I can see it now, like you're saying, but we didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that was happening. Like God just brought things together. And
Mm-hmm.
that is my faith in a nutshell. I don't have this, rock bottom moment, this testimony, this thing, this come to Jesus thing. I'm literally just say like, I've seen too much come together to go back now. Like stuff that, like this first event, that I didn't know what I was doing, and it just kept working out. And that's been Elevate in a nutshell, which is wild to say, but it's the God's honest truth, and that's what we're sharing here today. So organic really is the word for it entirely.
Yeah. And that's honestly how I would describe how faith came to be such a central part of the community in general. I think it was one day, I think he said Bo or something wanted to do a Bible study together. And you're like, well, okay. It wasn't really
Yeah,
something you were thinking about. But that was just an organic thing. And now it's it is the foundational pillar of the community. And it's what so many guys join for, benefit the most from, and ultimately, grow their relationship with Jesus because of. So it's, yeah, I think that's really the best way to describe it all.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that is exactly what happened heading into 2023. Bo came to start that Bible study. Is there another point in the timeline? I want to make sure I'm not missing anything that you see in the
Mm-hmm.
timeline before we jump past. What do you think is the next significant spot?
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind, and most people probably won't realize this from the outside looking in, but it's really when you made that leap of faith to stop doing fitness coaching primarily and go all in on the community 100%. So, I
Yeah,
don't remember exactly when it was, but it was 2023 sometime. Needed to pay the bills, and fitness coaching was paying the bills. Community wasn't necessarily. Um, and you were feeling like this was really what I wanted to do. This is what I most feel like fired up about. And I want to go all in on that, instead of right now, most of my focus being on just trying to help, guys gain muscle or, whatever exactly it was. And so I know that fitness coaching has now come back around. It's a big part of the community still, but that was a burn the ships moment in your mind and in your heart, I believe, that I think officially, forced you to go all in on this community instead of having these two things that they are related, they do, go together, but you were like, you know, I'm not going to focus on just trying to pick up fitness clients. I'm going to focus on getting members into the community. And
yeah,
I would say that's another pivotal moment that I don't think that we'd be having this conversation here today if that didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll give a little more context to that situation because it was even bigger than I realized now having been able to reflect with Peyton. And that's something we kind of just glossed, right over, which was a massive, massive moment. Um, so Peyton joined, who's now my partner and part owner in this thing. He joined as a regular member in Q2 of 2022. So he joined pretty early on. I think there was maybe 30 guys a part of the community when he joined. And at that point, it's just a big group chat. I'm just connecting with everybody one on one, building friendships. We're all friends type of thing. And then Peyton and I grow our relationship. As Mitch is saying, I'm even fitness coaching him at one point, helping him compete in a strongman competition. And the community just blows up the last 2 months of 2022. I mean, we had 60 guys join in November and December of 2022, 18 guys on New Year's Eve alone. So it got to a point where it hit 100 guys, and I'm trying to balance fitness coaching in a community of 100 guys that I don't really know, what's going on or what I'm doing. Like, it was easy to manage when it was 30 in a group chat of friends. Now I don't even know the guys who are in the group, like we got our core group and who are these outsiders type of thing. And so I knew I needed help at that time. And that's when I saw a lot of potential, in Peyton. And in January of 2023, I mean, we went back and forth a lot and eventually convinced him to drop out of college and join the mission in helping. And so that was Jan 2023. And genuinely for that, like all my promises were hung on fitness coaching for him, like it was like, here's fitness coaching that's bringing in the revenue, that's paying the bills, like you're saying, which I had drawn a lot of identity in. Like, finally, I was making a little bit of money. And here's where we're going to take this, here's where we're going to take this revenue if you join type of thing. Like, here's what we can do. I'm selling this dream. And then I think in February, 30 days after he drops out of college and, takes this unknown path, I'm having this conversation with you about we're on the phone. I'm down in Florida, and I'm like, I don't know. I really want to go all in on Elevate, like you're saying, on the community and give up the fitness coaching. And I don't even think I said that. I think you had actually said, like, have you thought about giving this up? The fitness coaching. You were just being that soundboard again, and I remember I was like, no, like we can't do that. Like, that's paying the bills. Like, I'm not going to go back to basically zero. And then 30 to 60 days later, that was the decision that was made. I came back to Peyton a month later after I had pitched it, and I was like, hey dude, like here's what I think the right move is giving up, all of our income and going all in on building community and building this brand. And man, he's never skipped a beat. Like, he doesn't have emotion, he's foundational, he's solid, he's steady. He didn't even he may have blinked an eye internally, but externally, man, he never blinks an eye when it comes to big moves or changes or things. So he's just been a foundation for me that's kind of steadied the ship a lot for sure, because I'm an unstable ship. And so yeah, that was a big leap, and kudos to him for being the foundation, of that leap, because we definitely wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for him coming aboard. And just like I said, not even blinking an eye when I'm talking about giving up all our revenue, man. I mean, he really brought the foundation for faith, I think, with him. Honestly,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, P Dog, can't say enough good things about the guy for sure. We've both gotten, I won't say lucky, but blessed from God to be able to work with guys who there's literally nothing bad you can say about them. It's like, you can't even like joke around with them and give them crap. I'll keep it above. I'll clean up my language.
There we go.
You can't even give them crap, because it's like they're just so nice, so good, so genuine, such a good heart. So that's a good point.
Yeah. He brought that foundation, things founded on faith. We take that leap all in on community. I think the next big thing is, Peyton plans that first event, and I mean, we really skimmed over the House of Steel as well, man. Jeez, which we're about to host the third annual. That goes back to October of 2022. I think it's definitely worth the mention, even though we're all over the place with the timeline. But October 2022, JR, the story. JR's getting kicked out of the Air Force for not getting the vaccine. And he comes to me and he's like, hey, man, I want to open this gym. My grandma passed down this building. Like, any way you can help out. And I just told him, and again, this is another God thing. I was like, dude, let's host an event. Like, you try to get people there locally, and I'll see how many Elevate guys I can get there. And October of 2022, we host the first annual House of Steel. We end up buying him a Texas deadlift bar and having a deadlift competition. And we raised like a little over $2,000 for him as well to just try to get the gym off the ground. And that was actually Peyton's, first ever Elevate event. So that's where we really got to connect, and he got to see the experience. And I think that was a huge seed being planted for him, a few months later, taking the leap to want to build this thing. So, that was an epic experience, and it's cool to see. We had maybe 10 to 15 guys come in for that. And then now we're gearing up next month to host 40 at that same gym that is now absolutely blown up, which is wild to see JR's, progress of his own and his own walk in business and in faith. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely worth the mention in the timeline. I don't know if you have anything you want to add about the House of Steel 2022 or beyond.
No, I mean, I think that it just goes back to the word organic, and everybody buying the deadlift bar, and it was truly out of trying to support him and him getting kicked out of the military for standing on what he believed in. And, that's what the community is about at the end of the day, is standing on your values, living out your values. And that's what he was doing. And so, it's just another organic moment where it's like, oh, like, yeah, well, let's do something. And then, try to get some money together to, get him a little bit of equipment, because he's just going off donated equipment, at that point. And, and just give him some money to be able to survive, because I don't know if he was putting in heat, or he had a lot of things he was going on.
I don't think he still has heat.
Oh gosh. Well, he was trying to, get it going, and we can both resonate with that experience of needing some capital to get it off the ground, and every dollar helps. So that's just another, organic moment where now it's turned into another cornerstone of the community, and in an event that I think, again, 5-10 years from now, will be much bigger, but also there will be guys who'll be able to say, hey, I was at the first one. And that's, we both know from the experiences in our personal life, that an annual trip can just mean a lot, even if it's, I don't know, it's, I won't say that it's transformative in and of itself, but it's like it's a rock that, you can lean on, no matter what else changes from year to year. That doesn't change, and there's something special about that. And so that is what the House of Steel will be to many, many guys as it continues to happen every single year. As it will be, this community is growing. A lot of things are changing in my own life, whatever it may be. But this is one thing that, there's just something sentimental about it, because we go back here, and this is, we've done this one for years. Feels good.
Yeah. Amen. And it's, very unique, because we will have guys coming this year who, this will be their third event, third House of Steel. And it's just wild to say, like, having members from day one come to the first ever House of Steel, and they're still riding for year 3 and still willing to, like you're saying, make that time investment, financial investment, travel across the country every fall, to come pick up some weights and hang out and bonfires and all the above. So, and I think more importantly, with what you're saying, we really got to show JR like who God was and who God is, God's support and God's love. Like, when you got 15 guys flying in to support you and your gym and, donating their hard earned money towards some equipment, like that is, that's an act of Jesus. It truly is. And so you get to feel the love of God through moments and acts like that. And you get to just be like, man, like we're behind you. We support you. And I know it's just
Mhm.
had to have played a role into what the gym has grown into today, and how God worked through that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's huge. I'm going to go ahead and just jump to what I would say the next like thing worth highlighting is, uh, and I don't even know when this got introduced, but with Peyton coming on, there were some upgrades to the community, and one of those was just like calls. We have a way more calls than we've ever had before. He's very involved in trying to listen to member feedback and adding new features and new things consistently to just make this a better, service as a whole. But one of those calls, or I guess four of those calls were, fitness, nutrition, addiction, and finance, which is where you come in. And this is just a very unique thing thinking about, back to when I was 16, starting that group chat, thinking like, Mitch, you're going to school for finance. You'll be able to help the group, with their money. Well, now we have 200 guys all over the world, and, you're leading a monthly call helping guys, with their money. But what's, kind of take me from your side. What's the experience been of the finance call?
Good. Good. I think the biggest thing is it's actually grown me a lot, because my faith has grown a lot, since starting those calls, not, just because of those calls, but, I know that, faith is a foundation of the community and godly, wise resource, I should say, for the people that have questions, for the people that I can help. And, it's been a motivating factor in me, diving deeper into, what the Bible says about money, what God calls us to do with our resources. And so it's been actually a growth experience for me leading the call, to show up and talk about those things, on a regular basis, because, you can't just wing it, too much if you're not putting in the work day to day to do it yourself. Um, and it's also helpful to just hear the questions from guys. It's beneficial for me to be able to think through my thoughts, get clarity on specific things when you have people who don't know anything about money, asking questions. It's like, oh, okay, well that's something I didn't think about, but that's a great question, and it can help me have those conversations on a regular basis. Um, outside of that, I wouldn't say there's been any necessarily major breakthroughs for guys within the community, at least that I've heard of. Hopefully, we can make sure there are breakthroughs at some point. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, that's all that I care and care about and want is to see them succeed financially, and just in life overall. But it's just one way to serve, and it's an opportunity to get those reps in to talk about these things, because hopefully 10, 20, 30 year, down in the future, when the community is much bigger, opportunity is much bigger, the stages are much bigger, you've put in the reps along the way, and you have the opportunity to impact many because you've just shown up and done the thing for every single month for however many years. So yeah, we'll see what it turns into. You never know what God has in store, but yeah, from my perspective, it's just been a good opportunity for me to learn, grow, serve, consistently show up. I would say there is one win that I can think of off the top of my head. Actually, it was man, I can't. I don't even remember his name off the top of my head. Young guy, obviously, but he was a golfer, or he is a golfer. What's his name?
Caden?
Caden. I thought that's what his name was, but
I just talked to him today.
cool. So I don't know if this is still true, but at least we got on a call once. He was interested in and talking investments with me. Turns out, he's not really at a stage in life where he needs to be investing, but he really wanted to start his own business. And so I gave him some couple actions to take. He took those actions and he gave me the feedback. I got 3, 4, 5, 6 clients, I don't even know, doing golf lessons, because that's what he was good at. That's what he, wanted to do. And he wanted to start making money, on his own instead of getting a job.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's still doing it. I hope he is. If he's listening to it, keep going, man. But yeah, he followed up with me a couple times since then, just sharing, went out, did XYZ, what you said. And here we are. So, yeah, that alone is one of the best feelings. It's not getting the invoice paid for a new client or whatever. It's truly the transformation that somebody else can go through just from, an hour-long call, that who knows what it could lead to down the road. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you what it leads you down the road. He called me today saying how he wanted to start a nonprofit ministry organization to spread Bibles, mission trips, the whole 9 yards. So he's
Cool.
got that on his radar. He's getting things in motion and was asking for my advice on how he could go about that. So it was an exciting conversation in his life. So that's what it can lead to right there. But I think next big thing that's sticking out to me, man, is this backpacking trip. You getting to come on what was your first legit Elevate event, and we get to go backpack with absolutely zero service up in the woods, which was a good benefit of the trip, in my opinion. Your wife and my fiance may not agree with that, but it was a good time. So
Mm-hmm.
walk us through, man. Like what what was your experience backpacking? 9 guys, 4 days, no service.
Yeah, it was a awesome opportunity. I mean, like you said, the first true legitimate Elevate event that I've been able to attend. Maybe just the first one actually planned by P Dog. Shout out P Dog. So it was a unique perspective that I was able to have because, obviously growing up together, being brothers, been here, along the ride for the beginning of Elevate, and now 2.5 years in. Probably best event yet. I don't know, but it was cool to just be able to see the relationships actually that guys had formed from the community. Like, not even necessarily that they had formed with you, relationships that they had formed with each other. Like that was cool. That was cool for me to see, because that's what the community is all about. Be able to connect you with other like-minded men who are on the same path, and you can walk together in this journey following God. And so, being able to see them have almost brother-like relationships, that they didn't know before they joined Elevate, but now they're in the woods, no signal, like you said, cracking jokes with each other, or talking about life, whatever it is. So it's that was a unique opportunity. The other thing I would say is just being able to observe the impact that you specifically and the community has had on people. Austin obviously is a big one. He's community leader now, but he started as a member, just like Peyton did. Now he's been on almost every event. He's leading the community, and he says that it's best decision he's ever made, or best thing to ever happen in his life. And it's not, that's from a genuine place. When Austin, everything the man says is genuine, and that he's truly sharing his heart when he says that. And not many people, I don't think, get to experience that opportunity for someone to truly say, like, what meeting you or joining what you've built and created is the best thing to ever happen in my life, to that point, of course. That means more than anything, and so getting able to just experience that organically, again, to use that word, and from the genuine place that these guys come from when they share just how much it has meant to them. It's special and makes me proud of you, of course. I'm proud of how you've continued to show up each and every day, put one foot in front of the other, even when you never know what's going to happen. All the pivots that have been made, all the times maybe people have left the community and it sucks, or feels like there should be more people joining, or there's not enough engagement, or whatever it is, like just the struggles of life. It makes me proud because you can tangibly see the difference that it has made and will continue to make into the future.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And it's again all glory to God for a guy like Austin. If we want to keep on that example, like he doesn't know how much me meeting him has changed my life as well. Because this community would definitely not be what it is today without the new official title of community leader, and just the sacrifice he's willing to make for it. So hope he if he I know he's gonna be watching this because I'm gonna send it to him. So hope he feels that in his heart right now, brother. Love you, dude. Yeah, no, it's cool to see, and like we talked about in the beginning, those humble, naive beginnings. It's just this is really an episode of the testimony, to be honest to God, because we didn't know this was coming. We didn't know August we were going to be hosting this epic backpacking event, and people were going to be saying that Elevate has just completely transformed their life. Like none of that was in the talks from day one, and I just hope that can encourage somebody to carry whatever cross that they have on their heart. If it's starting a business, or if it's, I don't know, putting themselves out there, traveling, taking a risk, quitting a job, whatever it is. Everybody's got a leap I feel that they need to take, and that's just what we've done. Like you said, one foot in front of the other. When it on paper, it's not supposed to work out. It doesn't make sense. This sucks. Tears, headbutting walls, a lot of vulnerable phone calls, and like it's been a hard journey. But when you hear things like this and get to sit and have conversations like this, it's like, man, even if we stopped today, it was all worth it. So, and that's not even accounting for what's to come. So it's a perspective that we need to be reminded of regularly, because we can lose sight of that in the midst of these frustrations. We can lose sight of our faith in the midst of the frustrations, in the midst of the storms. So grateful for just that experience and you saying that. Honestly, I don't feel I have really much else. Most the two questions that I always ask on these Elevate interviews, there's really a handful of them, but one I want to ask you because I'm eager to hear is just like, what about the future of Elevate, excites you the most?
It's a good question, and I want to make sure I think through the answer, because there's a lot of things that come to mind, but you just don't want to go with the first thing that you think of. I think just what excites me the most is the impact that God will have through Elevate. And there's really no specific thing that's going to be, we don't even know what it looks like, really. Just like you didn't know what it looked like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago when it started. 2.5 years from now, it could look completely different, but that'll be because of the work that God's doing through the community. Yeah, that is what is most exciting. It's really not anything specific that I know. Like we always talk about, God has more than we can ask or imagine in store. And that is what is exciting, because who knows what it will be. The one thing that I know is that it will be changing lives for the better. And so just being able to see that in action, hear the testimonies of people, how it's benefited them in their life, and see what God does with it from here. Like it's probably a cop out type answer, but we can't predict what God's going to do. What He's going to do is way more exciting than what I can even think of in my mind right now.
Yeah. Amen. Last question I got for you. And this is an audible from what I was going to ask because it just came to mind not too long ago. But there was a conversation we had where you had said, if I were to die, you would do what needed to be done to carry this mission on, to carry Elevate on. And, I think the question is just why, in your heart and your mind, like, why would that be a mantle you'd want to pick up, and continue on?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember. It was something about, you were flying on your way to Colorado, and I can't even remember why I had a I had a feeling, or we like both thought at the same time, like what would happen if the plane crashed, or I don't even know. It was,
Yeah, we both did. I remember because I was on the plane thinking like it was the wildest thing. It was like if I die, like I felt like I needed to text you, like if I die, like build Elevate. Like it was insane. It really was insane. And I was
mm,
like, pray to the Lord that I don't die. But
yeah, but
it's
but
kind of
that but
scary.
that alone wasn't what made it crazy. It was that I had the same thing. I thought was thinking the same thing, and then we both told
Yeah,
each other, and we were like, wait a second, like what the heck? Like you were on the plane, like we weren't talking at that moment, and we had really no reason to both be thinking that. But um,
yeah,
yeah, who knows? We literally prayed because we were scared. I mean, genuinely scared. Like we both just had this feeling and this call, maybe, I don't know, and we just prayed like, please, please no, basically. But no, for me, I mean, it's. I think it just goes back to. I think it goes back to the impact that I've been able to see it have, the community have on everybody. And not that I would be able to replicate you and step in and just be you, but it's just it's a bigger thing that I think it needs to continue on because of the impact that we've already seen it have, so far, to date. And so, yeah, that's really it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just it's just one of those things that when you just know it, you know it. You got to do it. It doesn't matter. It makes sense, doesn't make sense, whatever. Yeah, that's why.
yeah.
That was
Well,
probably an underwhelming answer, but
no,
it's hard to maybe that's all it is. It's hard to put into words. It really is just something that you just know on a deeper soul level. Kind of like Jesus is real. That it's like if that happened, like, I would do it. That's it. Like I don't know, but you just know it needs to be done.
yeah. Well, I know that there will definitely be partnerships in the future. We always have talked about building a business together. And I know that that's inevitable in our future. We're going to have plenty of ventures and opportunities when God opens those doors and the time comes. So I'm excited for those days. But yeah, I'm excited for both of our futures. And I know there's going to be a day where, this was only 45 minutes. I know there's going to be a day where we sit down for about 3 hours and maybe three parters at 3 hours each and just freaking, dive into the individual stories from childhood and beyond. Um, and that'll be a fun podcast when that time comes. But it's good to jump on here and just get some quick experiences and document, the journey thus far. I think the coolest thing about these interviews and just about content in general is what we're going to have to look back on, is just sharing that with Connor, who films a lot of our events. I was like, man, more than anything, I'm just grateful for him. Obviously, we record a lot of content to try to capture the event to get new members in so they can see what the experience in the community is like. But I'm just grateful more than anything that in 5 years, I'm going to be able to look back and, see the second annual House of Steel video that, we're probably going to
Mm-hmm.
laugh at in comparison to what we're doing, then. But it's going to be just all this big testimony to how God has worked. And I know it's only
Mm.
building, so it's cool to add this into the fold, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's always good to reflect and just see how far you've come, how things have changed, how God has worked. And like you said, God is real at the end of the day. You look back, you've seen too much basically. And so these conversations help it really set in and help you, connect the dots and really maybe I think of building like a cement pad or something. It just slowly hardens over time. And I think that is how we can harden our faith, is just by reflecting on the journey. And so that's really what this is, and just continuing to firm up the concrete.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. No, this will be it. We can wrap up. But I Tony got me this journal that I got right over here, and it's this like red like leather with like the world embroidered into the leather, let's call it. And I was always like, this journal's like too nice, to just jot down like chicken scratch business notes. Like that's really all I, write down. I was like, while I'm podcasting, I'm ripping notes. Like, I was like, what am I ever gonna put in this? And I got that answer the other day, and it's what you're saying. It's the reflections. It's looking back on moments and, writing why I have faith that I do. So, when storms come, because they're coming, it's inevitable. But when storms come, if I can open up this notebook, this journal, and just have 100 little small moments that really move my heart in a big way that I would have never remembered, but I wrote them all down. Like these stories that we're talking about, this backpacking trip where Austin shared how Elevate has changed his life. Like that's the reason I have faith in God. If I go write that one thing down, like in 10 years, what am I going to have the pages filled with? And what am I going to be able to just look back and read during a storm and just be like, I'm not going to doubt now type of thing. So absolutely. It's just being built through reflection. And yeah, so hopefully that encourages someone to reflect. But appreciate the time. Let's wrap it up here. Appreciate everybody listening. I don't know if you got any closing remarks.
Nope. Just join Elevate. If you listened all the way through and you're not already in, this is your sign to join.
All right. Peace and love.
See ya.